Hello, Mr. Rusin. Just in response to your request on the fly that I caught that pink salmon on, I'm not going to do a video on that because if I did, there's several people that would probably hunt me down and kill me. So I'm just doing this on a private channel so that you can see exactly how this thing was tied. Use any long shanked hook. I'm using Mustad 9671 in a number 2, which is an old Mustad number, but I'm sure if you told your local shop that's what you're looking for, they give you the updated number on it. I don't know if you can see that. It's just a long shank streamer hook. It's got a nice gap on it, and it's a down eye hook. I have tied these also on salmon hooks, which have an upturned eye, and it didn't seem to make much of a difference to the fish. So anyhow, that's the hook. First of all, you want to tie on the tail, which is mallard flank. Same thing as the top of the wing. So mallard flank, gray mallard flank feathers, which kind of look like that. Most of them. And they generally come loose in a package, looking like that. So you get a whole whack of them in a package. So you get all different kinds of sizes when you get a package like that. So there's the larger ones that you use for the top of the wing, but then there's the small ones you use for the tail. So you can pull a bunch of fibers off and tie them in just like you normally would a tail. Okay. And then the next thing you do is you wind on a whole bunch of lead wire from about here to probably about a third of the way down the hook shank. On a size 2 9671, I'll usually wind on about 15 turns of the 030 lead wire. And then you start your thread. The thread that you're going to be using is basically gray. Kind of a silvery gray. But this is uni, and it's just called gray. Alternatively, you can, and this is what John does, he uses white thread, or whatever thread he's got, and he just uses silver paint, like a model paint, and just paints the head. So you wind that on. You do your tail, put your lead wraps on, and then the next thing you want to put on is the body. Now the original fly, which was invented by a guy out of Detroit, Al Girardeau, the original body was all built up with floss, so you get a nice thick body, and then he put embossed silver tinsel, wound that on top, which is a lot of work. So what John started using, and what I use most of the time, is what's called metallic braid, and it comes on a cotton core. You can kind of see it like that. You just basically cut it to length. Then you take a pair of tweezers or something and you pull that core out. And the core is just made up of a whole bunch of strings. So you just pull that out and you got a tubular piece of very fishy looking tubing. It's made out of mylar, it's made out of tinsel. This one is made out of a metallic tinsel. But you can also get it in mylar. Mylar doesn't seem to last as long. The one that I caught the pink salmon on, I have this funny feeling that I used crystal chenille instead of the mylar tubing, and I think it was because I was out of the tubing. But I think pink salmon, they just like really shiny, sparkly things, and that's basically what that is. And I just wound it on like you would a normal body. So once you got the body wound on, then you're ready to do the wing. And again, the original wing, the under wing was a little bit of white bucktail, and then on top of that you put blue dyed impala hair. And I don't know, you can get it, you can still get it, but these days what I use is calf tail. So kind of looks, you've probably seen calf tail before. I'll use white. Sometimes if you're tying bigger ones, you might have to go to a bucktail, but that's plenty long enough. You just want to use a little bit, maybe that much at the most. So that's tied on first, and then I also use, for the blue, instead of impala hair, I use calf tail. And it's kind of a weird looking blue. If you can find baby blue, that would be the best. Closest I could get was this, and it's kind of a baby aqua, which once you get it sparse enough, I don't think it really matters too much. Again, you don't want to use much, just that much. And you can see the effect it gives under this mallard wing. They kind of marry together. And then on top of all of that, you get yourself a nice long gray mallard flank feather, like that. This one's all warped, you can see. Try and find one that's nice and flat, because it's just going to be a lot easier to work with. And you take off all the fluffy ones, tear them off, and then you lay it on top, tie it down. Only tie it here, don't tie it anywhere else. And then, once you've done that, under here is a red throat. And the original called for a crimson rooster feather, which kind of like that, which I still use. I still use that a lot. But in a pinch, you can use yarn. I don't think I had the red feathers when I was up at the steel. But I did have this red Antron yarn, which is really neat because it's kind of sparkly as well, which the pink salmon really like. So that's what I used instead. So tie that in as a throat. You can see how it's tied in there. And then build the head up. Nice big head on it. And then again, the original called for a painted eye. And it was black with a white pupil. The one that John uses is black with a yellow pupil. And he paints the yellow pupil quite large, so it just looks like a black outline around the yellow. I use kind of the opposite just because I like using the stick-on eyes. So it's actually a yellow eye with a black pupil. And again, they don't seem to mind as long as you got eyeballs on there. And then you cover the whole thing with head cement, or a lot of guys are using this now. It's the UV cure stuff. I use rod finish because whenever I'm fixing or building a rod, I'll tie up a whole bunch of flies that I need to put a finish on, and I'll use the rod finish because this really smells. And I don't like using smelly stuff on my flies. Same with head cement. You got to make sure that you let that head cement dry forever so that the smell goes away before you put it in your fly box, because it'll contaminate all your other flies. So, and that's it. That's the whole fly. The great thing about it is with that lead, and that's key to have the lead on there, is when it swims, it'll dive down, and as it dives down, it kind of goes down on a flat rather than going down like a jig. It'll kind of go down on a flat, and what happens is that wing comes up. And as you pull it back up, the wing flattens out. And as it dives back down, or settles back down, the wing goes back up again. So it's a pretty amazing looking fly. And if you just strip it really fast, everything just goes like this, and it just looks like a minnow going 90. Oh, this one is tied with that crystal chenille instead of the mylar tubing or the tinsel tubing. It's tied with the chenille, and it's actually the fastest way to tie them. But if you want to tie John Ritchie's one, which honestly this thing catches steelhead salmon, as you know, it catches bass, it catches I've seen guys tie them in really big sizes and catch muskie with them. So I haven't seen them do it, but I've seen the results of it. So this one's a bit of a smaller one. It's a bass size one. And that's it. Hope that helped you out. Just text me if you got any questions. Maybe we should get on FaceTime and maybe tie one together. Anyway, take care. Talk to you later.